My wife didn't just cheat on me with my brother for 2 years. She made our 11-year-old daughter and 9-year-old son keep the secret. She taught them how to lie. How to delete messages. How to protect mommy's special friendship. When I found out from one accidental text, my daughter fell to her knees crying and said, "I'm sorry, Daddy. I wanted to tell you but Mom said you would leave us." She was 9 when the lies started. She's 11 now and still blames herself. That's what my wife stole from her. Not just a father, but her innocence. Before you judge me, before you take sides, I need you to understand one thing. This story isn't about cheating. It's about what happens when adults turn children into liars. My wife didn't just betray me with my own brother. She taught our 11-year-old daughter and 9-year-old son how to delete messages. How to lie to their father. And how to protect her secret. And the night I found out? My daughter dropped to her knees crying and said, "I'm sorry, Daddy. Mom said you would leave us." Before this video ends, I want you to answer one question in the comments. Who do you think this hurt the most, the husband, or the children? I found out my wife was sleeping with my brother because my 11-year-old daughter accidentally sent me a text meant for him. It said, "Mom says you can't come over tonight. Dad's home early." I read that message 17 times. I remember counting. Sitting in my truck in the driveway of the house I built with my own hands, staring at a text from my little girl, the one I taught to ride a bike, the one who still crawled into my lap during thunderstorms. And in that moment, I realized that my entire family had been living a life I wasn't part of. That my wife, my brother, and my own children had constructed a parallel universe where I was the outsider. The fool. The last one to know. That was 4 months ago. I'm writing this from a 1-bedroom apartment 6 miles from the house where my kids sleep. I see them every other weekend now. My daughter can barely look at me. My son, who's 9, asked me last week if I hate him for keeping the secret. I told him no. I told him it wasn't his fault. But the truth is, I don't know what I feel anymore. Everything inside me has been scooped out and replaced with something cold and unfamiliar. Let me start from the beginning, because I need someone to understand how this happened. How a man can work his whole life to build something good and watch it get demolished by the people he trusted most. I met Jessica when we were 22. College sweethearts, if you want the romantic version. She was studying elementary education. I was getting my degree in business, planning to take over my dad's construction company eventually. She was beautiful in this effortless way that made me nervous every time I talked to her. For 6 months, I convinced myself she was out of my league. My brother Ryan was the one who finally pushed me to ask her out. "Stop being a coward," he said. "She's into you. Everyone can see it." Ryan was always the confident one. The charming one. While I was the steady, dependable brother, he was the one who lit up rooms. People gravitated toward him. Women especially. I never resented him for it. He was my brother. My best friend. When our dad died 7 years ago and left the company to both of us, Ryan said he didn't want the responsibility and signed a share over to me. "You're the builder," he told me. "I'm just the guy who shows up to drink beer at the job site." I thought that made us closer. I thought we had an understanding. Jessica and I got married when we were 25. Lily came 2 years later. Marcus 2 years after that. I threw myself into being a provider. 60-hour weeks weren't unusual. 70 during the busy season. I told myself I was doing it for them. Building something. Securing their future. Jessica never complained, at least not directly. She'd make comments sometimes. "Must be nice to have adult conversations at work." Or, "I forgot what it feels like to eat a meal while it's still hot." I'd apologize, promise to do better, and then get pulled back into the grind. I should have seen it. I know that now. The signs were everywhere. Ryan started coming around more often about 3 years ago. "Just checking on Jess and the kids while you're working late," he'd say. It seemed thoughtful. Generous. He'd pick up groceries for her, help Marcus with his homework, take Lily to soccer practice when I couldn't make it. Jessica told me how grateful she was to have him around. "He's been such a huge help," she'd say. "I don't know what I'd do without him." I thanked him. Multiple times. I bought him a new set of golf clubs for his birthday to show my appreciation. I told him he was the best brother a guy could ask for. While he was sleeping with my wife in the bed I paid for. The affair started 2 years before I found out. 2 years. 730 days of lies. Of secret texts and hidden meetings and my children being taught that Daddy was too stupid to notice. Jessica told me everything after I confronted her, like the confession would somehow make it better. Like honesty after 2 years of deception was supposed to mean something. She said it started small. Ryan would flirt, and she'd laugh it off. Then the flirting got more intense. Then he kissed her one night after helping put the kids to bed while I was stuck at a job site 3 hours away. She said she felt guilty for weeks. She said she tried to end it. But Ryan kept pushing, and she was lonely, and I was never there, and eventually she convinced herself she deserved to feel wanted. That's the word she used. Deserved. Like my absence was a permission slip. Like the fact that I was working myself half to death for our family meant she was entitled to find comfort in my brother's arms. The kids found out about 8 months in. Lily walked in on them. Not during sex, thank God, but close enough. Kissing on the couch. Ryan's hands where they shouldn't have been. Jessica panicked. She sat Lily down that night and explained that Mommy and Uncle Ryan had a special friendship, that it was complicated, that Daddy wouldn't understand, and that it was really, really important to keep it a secret. She made our 11-year-old daughter a co-conspirator in her affair. Marcus found out a few months later. By then, Lily had already been trained. She helped her little brother understand the rules. Don't mention Uncle Ryan's visits. Don't talk about the nights he stayed late. If Daddy asks what you did today, leave out certain parts. They were children. They didn't understand what they were protecting. They just knew Mommy said it was important, and Mommy was their whole world. I've thought a lot about those 2 years. All the moments I missed because I was too blind or too tired to see them. The way Lily started getting quiet around me. The way Marcus would sometimes slip up and mention Uncle Ryan being over, only to have Jess quickly change the subject. The way my own kids started looking at me differently, like I was a guest in my own home. I thought it was just them growing up. Pulling away. I thought it was normal. It wasn't normal. They were carrying a weight no child should ever have to carry. And they were carrying it because my wife decided her loneliness was more important than their innocence. The night I found out, I sat in that driveway for 45 minutes. I could see the living room light on. I could picture Jessica inside, probably texting Ryan to warn him. Probably coaching the kids on what to say. I thought about every possible explanation. Maybe Lily meant a different mom. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe I was misunderstanding something. But I knew. Somewhere deep in my gut, I already knew. I walked inside, and Jessica was standing in the kitchen like she was waiting for me. Her face was pale. Lily was sitting at the table doing homework, but her hands were shaking. Marcus was nowhere to be seen. I didn't yell. I wanted to, but the anger hadn't arrived yet. There was just this hollow ringing in my ears, like someone had set off a bomb inside my head. How long? I asked. Jessica started crying. Daniel, please, let me explain. How long? She told me. 2 years. My brother. My children knew. All of it came out in this pathetic flood of words and tears, and I just stood there absorbing it like punches. Lily started sobbing. She kept saying, I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm sorry. Mom said we couldn't tell you. Mom said you'd leave. That broke something in me. Hearing my daughter apologize for a secret she should never have been asked to keep. Watching her little body shake with guilt that belonged to her mother. I didn't say another word that night. I packed a bag. I kissed both kids on the forehead, even though touching them felt strange suddenly, tainted by everything I'd just learned. And I left. I drove to Ryan's apartment. He wasn't expecting me. I could tell by the way his face dropped when he opened the door. He started talking immediately. Danny, listen, I know you're upset, but you have to let me explain. I broke his nose with the first punch. Fractured 2 of his ribs with the second. By the time his neighbors pulled me off, he was curled up on his doorstep bleeding, and I was standing over him, shaking, realizing that hurting him didn't fix anything. It didn't bring back the 2 years. It didn't erase the image of my daughter's shaking hands. It just added assault charges to the pile of wreckage my life had become. Ryan didn't press charges. He told the cops he fell. Maybe guilt. Maybe he knew he deserved worse. But the damage was done. Word spread fast in our small town. Daniel Miller beat his brother half to death in a jealous rage. That was the story. Not the affair. Not the kids being used as cover. Just the violent husband who couldn't control himself. Jessica filed for divorce 3 weeks later. She cited irreconcilable differences and my history of violent behavior. Her lawyer used the incident with Ryan to paint me as unstable. Dangerous. Unfit to have unsupervised custody of my own children. I lost almost everything in the initial hearings. The house went to her because the kids needed stability. I got every other weekend and Wednesday dinners. My own children, who I had worked my entire adult life to provide for, became visitors in my world. And Ryan? He disappeared. Left town 2 months after everything exploded. Last I heard, he was in Arizona, starting over. No consequences. No punishment. Just a fresh start in a place where nobody knew what he'd done. That's where part 1 ends. With me sitting in a courtroom, watching a judge hand my life to the woman who destroyed it, while my brother drove off into the sunset without a scratch on his conscience. But the fallout was just beginning. The first 6 months after the divorce were a blur of grief and fury that I couldn't separate from each other. I'd wake up in my cramped apartment, reach for Jessica out of habit, and then remember. Every single morning, that same crushing moment of remembering. The affair. The kids. The courtroom. My brother's bloody face. All of it rushing back before I'd even opened my eyes. I started drinking. Not dramatically, not like in movies where the guy becomes a stumbling mess. Just a few beers after work to take the edge off. Then a few more. Then I stopped counting. I'd sit on my second-hand couch, scrolling through old photos on my phone, torturing myself with images of birthday parties and beach vacations and Christmas mornings. Looking for signs I missed. Zooming in on Jessica's face, trying to see the lies. Wondering if she was thinking about Ryan while I took that photo. While we sat at that dinner. While we made love the night before our anniversary. The thoughts ate me alive. Work suffered. My foreman started covering for me when I showed up late or not at all. Jobs that used to energize me felt pointless. I was building houses for other families while mine fell apart. The irony was so heavy I could barely breathe under it. But the worst part, the part that still wakes me up at 3 a.m., was watching what this did to my kids. Lily changed almost overnight. The sweet, talkative girl who used to tell me every detail of her day became a ghost. During our court-mandated visits, she'd sit on my couch with her phone, giving one-word answers to everything I asked. How's school? Fine. How's mom? Fine. Do you want to talk about anything? Silence. I knew she blamed herself. Kids always do, even when they're told it's not their fault. She had carried her mother's secret for over a year, and now her family was shattered, and some part of her believed she could have stopped it. If she had told me sooner. If she had refused to keep quiet. If she had been braver. That guilt was rotting her from the inside. I could see it. And I couldn't fix it because every time I tried to bring it up, she shut down completely. Marcus was different. He coped by acting out. Fighting at school. Screaming at his mother. Refusing to do homework. His therapist said it was normal, that children of divorce often express their pain through anger. But I knew it was more than that. My 9-year-old had been asked to lie to his father's face for 18 months. He had learned that the adults in his life couldn't be trusted, that love was conditional, that secrets were more important than truth. How do you undo that? How do you teach a child to trust again when his mother used him as a weapon? I tried to be patient. I tried to be present during our limited time together. But I was drowning too, and kids can sense when you're barely holding on. My apartment felt like a waiting room. Somewhere we all sat until our time was up and they went back to the house that used to be mine. Jessica, meanwhile, seemed to be thriving. That's the part nobody tells you about infidelity. Sometimes the cheater lands on their feet. She kept the house, kept primary custody, kept her job at the elementary school. Her co-workers didn't know the full story. Her friends only heard her version, the one where I was an absent husband who finally snapped and became violent. She was the victim. The survivor. The strong single mom making the best of a difficult situation. I'd see her at school events, and she'd smile at me like we were old acquaintances. Polite. Distant. Like she hadn't detonated a bomb in the middle of my life. Like she hadn't taught our children to deceive me. Like the past 13 years were just a rough draft she'd decided to revise. The audacity of it made me sick. But what could I do? Every time I tried to defend myself, tried to tell people what really happened, I sounded bitter. Obsessive. Exactly like the unstable ex-husband she'd painted me as. The truth didn't matter because the narrative had already been written, and I wasn't the author. My parents were devastated. My mother cried for weeks. Not just about the divorce, but about Ryan. Her 2 sons, her boys who she'd raised to look out for each other, destroyed by betrayal she couldn't comprehend. She kept asking me to forgive him. He's still your brother, she'd say. Family is family. I haven't spoken to Ryan since the night I broke his face. I don't plan to. Some betrayals are too deep for forgiveness. He didn't just sleep with my wife. He watched me struggle to balance work and family. He listened to me talk about how tired I was, how I worried I wasn't being a good enough husband. He gave me advice. He told me Jessica was lucky to have me. And then he went back to my house and touched her while my children pretended not to notice. Family is family. But Ryan stopped being my family the moment he decided my wife was worth more than my trust. About 8 months after the divorce, I hit bottom. I'd lost a major contract because I couldn't focus. My drinking had gotten worse. I'd missed 2 Wednesday dinners with the kids because I couldn't get out of bed. Jessica's lawyer sent a letter threatening to revisit the custody arrangement if my pattern of instability continued. That letter saved my life. Not because I was scared of losing the kids, although I was. But because it forced me to see what I was becoming. A cautionary tale. Another statistic. The broken man who let his wife's betrayal define the rest of his story. I quit drinking that week. Cold turkey. Started therapy. Threw myself back into work with a focus I hadn't felt in years. Not to forget what happened, because I'll never forget. But because my kids needed at least one parent who could hold it together. Slowly, things started to improve. My business stabilized. I bought a small house closer to the kids' school. Lily began opening up in her own therapy sessions, and some of that progress spilled over into our visits. She started talking again. Not about everything, but about school, friends, the books she was reading. Small steps toward something that might eventually feel normal. Marcus was harder. His anger had deep roots, and it didn't dissolve just because I got my act together. But I showed up anyway. Every scheduled visit. Every soccer game. Every school play. Even when he didn't want me there. Even when he said he hated me. I showed up because that's what fathers do. That's what I should have done all along, instead of burying myself in work while my family slipped away. I won't lie and say I've healed. There are still nights when the memories ambush me. Still moments when I see a family at a restaurant, laughing together, and I feel this stabbing envy for something I used to have. I'll never fully trust anyone again. That's just the truth. When someone you love conspires with someone you trusted against you, it rewires your brain. Every future relationship will carry that scar. Jessica got engaged last month. A guy she met at some school fundraiser. The kids told me. Lily seemed indifferent. Marcus threw a lamp at the wall. I don't know what I feel about it. Relief that she's someone else's problem now, maybe. Or maybe just exhaustion. I spent so many months hating her that I don't have any emotion left to spend. Ryan is still in Arizona, according to our mother. He has a new girlfriend. A new job. A new life built on the ashes of the one he helped burn down. Sometimes I wonder if he thinks about what he did. If he lies awake at night replaying it. Or if he's moved on completely, rewriting history in his head until he's the victim somehow. The misunderstood brother who fell in love with the wrong woman. I'll never know. I'll never ask. Some doors need to stay closed. Last week, Lily asked me something that I haven't stopped thinking about. We were sitting on my porch, watching the sunset, and out of nowhere she said, "Dad, do you ever wish you never found out?" I thought about it for a long time before answering. Part of me wanted to say yes. That text message destroyed my life. It took my family, my home, my brother, my sense of safety. Ignorance might have been easier. I could have kept living in the lie, kept showing up to a marriage that was already dead, kept believing the people I loved were capable of loving me back. But I told her the truth. No. I needed to know. Even though it hurt. She nodded like she understood. Maybe she did. She's been carrying adult pain since she was 9 years old. She knows things about betrayal and secrets that no child should know. That's the real tragedy of what Jessica did. Not the affair itself, not the divorce, not even my brother's treachery. It's what she did to Lily and Marcus. She stole their childhood and replaced it with a burden they'll carry forever. She made them complicit in her deception and then watched them crumble under the weight of it. I can rebuild my life. I'm doing it, slowly, painfully, one day at a time. But my kids? They'll spend the rest of their lives learning to trust again. Learning that love doesn't always come with conditions. Learning that some adults are capable of keeping promises. If Jessica ever reads this, I want her to know something. I don't hate you anymore. Hate takes too much energy, and I need everything I have for our children. But I will never forgive you. Not for the affair, not for my brother, but for what you did to Lily and Marcus. You took their innocence and turned it into a weapon. You made them carry your guilt. That's the one thing I'll never understand. That's the wound that will never close. To anyone reading this who's in a similar situation, whether you're the one being cheated on, the one doing the cheating, or God forbid, a child caught in the middle, let me leave you with this. Secrets don't stay buried. They grow roots. They spread into every corner of your life until the whole foundation is rotten. And when it finally collapses, and it will collapse, the people who get crushed aren't always the ones who built the lie. Sometimes it's the innocent ones. The kids who just wanted their parents to be happy. The spouse who just wanted to believe in the life they were building. I used to think the worst thing that could happen to a marriage was growing apart. Falling out of love. Waking up one day and realizing you're strangers. I was wrong. The worst thing is finding out you were always a stranger. That the life you thought you had was a stage set, and everyone knew except you. My name is Daniel. I was married for 13 years to a woman who slept with my brother while my children kept watch. And the hardest part wasn't losing her. It was realizing I never had her at all. If you've stayed until this point, it means this story didn't just entertain you, it hit something deeper. Because this was never just a story about cheating. It was a story about what happens when adults make children carry secrets they were never meant to hold. I can rebuild my life. I can start over, piece by piece. But my kids will spend years unlearning the lesson that love means lying to protect someone. That's the damage nobody prepares you for. People like to say affairs are private mistakes between adults. But the moment children are pulled into the lie, it stops being private. It becomes a wound that spreads into their trust, their sense of safety, and the way they see relationships forever. So before you scroll away, I want you to pause for a second and answer one honest question in the comments. At what point does cheating stop being a mistake? And become unforgivable? Is it the lies? Or is it the moment children are asked to protect an adult's secret? If this story made you feel something, anger, sadness, or even gratitude for your own family, Hit like so it reaches someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe if you believe stories like this matter. Not for drama, but as warnings. Because some betrayals don't just destroy marriages. They leave scars on the people who never had a choice.